All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Haunted Saloon. I'm AJ Wyatt. I'm here with my buddy Cody Leavitt.
Hello.
What's up, dude? Some of you guys might know him from Asteroid M Records. You also put on a lot of really cool shows and play a lot of cool shows.
I've done a couple things like that. Have some fun out here. We got a really cool scene, so it's not too hard to, play cool shows, put on good shows, or, be involved with
So
music.
you're playing tonight, right, buddy?
I am playing tonight, but when you watch this podcast, it will not be tonight. This is actually the past. Yeah, I'm playing a doubleheader tonight at Red Dwarf with, I'm playing a Not For Sale and New Cold War. New Cold War is my old band. That's my new band again, because like the Blues Brothers, we got everything back together. This is going to be our third practice, but it's not a practice, it's a show, because we were like, they got beer and pizza there. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun tonight with the boys. Anti-Vision's the headliner. Anti-Vision had a show drop downtown, so this is kind of a last-minute throw together where we're all going to get together, play some punk rock, drink some beer, and eat pizza. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I got a couple shows coming up. Speaking of tour dates here,
Tell me.
I'll be playing St. Patrick's Day, March 17th at the Red Dwarf as well. Yeah. Looking forward to that one. And then I'll be at the Double Down on the 15th of February. So those of you listening, all 5 of you.
6 maybe by this time. Maybe 10. Who knows?
Yeah, make your way down to one of those. It's going to be a fun time.
Especially the Double Down.
It's a 95% waxing gibbous moon tonight.
Oh my God, I was feeling a little wax before I got to the studio too, so that totally makes sense.
Oh, man. And then I think February 5th, we got our full moon.
Hell yeah.
Dude, so we were playing a little bit of Magic last night.
Magic the Gathering.
Oh, that was fun.
MTG.
I've never seen anybody wipe a table quite like you did. This guy knocked out like 3 guys, just boom, 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 one turn.
Yeah, one turn. It was probably like 10 turns in. In my defense, I just spent like $100 upgrading a deck that was already really pretty decent. And so it was fun. It was a good time. I enjoy some Magic. You got to nerd out, man. You got to diversify your interests if you want to be happy and not depressed in the year 2023.
Your boy comes prepared, man. Speaking of prepared, I don't have much prepared. but you know what, dude? I was going to ask you, you ever reach a point at your age where it's like you have a hard time finding like new music you just like really love, or are you the type of person that just like finds a lot of shit he just like really gets into?
I've always been horrible about finding new music, right? Generally, what would be how I've always found music is what my friends would be listening to. I'd be like, oh, that's cool, and I like it. So that would be how I found music. Nowadays, running the label, and pushing like the independent narrative, I try to like be a lot more cognizant of what's going on out there. And probably one of my best sources for that is the punk rock NBA, fucking Finn McKenty. I love that dude. He's a little bit older than me, but like not by much. We're in the same age bracket for sure. And he's just really open-minded, and he likes so many different genres of music that I get a lot of stuff from him, and he'll just be like on to some stuff that I would never find out about. So that's like one of my sources. Still, since I'm in the label, all the younger kids are into music still like that. So then I just kind of vampire off all the youth around me and find out what's going on.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good way to do it. Because like with me, it's like I normally describe myself as somebody who has this wide variety of music he listens to, and I listen to all these genres, and I'm really open with music. But
and you are.
If I really sit there and like evaluate where I'm at in regards to that, I'm still listening to the same stuff I did in high school the majority of the time. So I'm always like on this hunt, but for some reason, like music is so situational for me, where it's
totally.
Like,
Agree.
For me to get really turned on to a band, it's like that right moment. I hear them at the right time. They can't be pushed on me by somebody like I don't like.
Yeah, I have a hard time when people are like, hey, you got to check this out. I almost immediately shut down whatever my ADD weird autistic spectrum thing is.
Right.
Like, you can't introduce me right now. I have to wait till it's my time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same fucking way. But it's a bummer because I am hungry to always want to find new music that I love and I'm really into, and that's something I feel like I lack, and I'd love to just be a little bit more open.
You know, I mean, but like, I think everyone's going to be guilty of that to a certain extent. I don't really see any generation. I haven't met a lot of people who like stuff outside of their, let's call it the high school years.
Okay.
Music that influenced them at the pivotal point where the brains are developing, your neurochemistry is developing. You're in all these situations that are like, for the first time, like love, you know, fucking, just all the things that come with being a teenager. And so this music is so poignant, right?
Right.
And then all this stuff stops becoming poignant because, like everything else in life, you experience it enough times that's like, all right, cool. So then we hold on to these like moments that were really salient to us at that time because you're like, it's kind of like one of those what do they call it nowadays, core memories type of thing.
Okay,
core
yeah.
memory unlocked. So it's kind of hard because nowadays, like, you're like, okay, you take things in stride a lot more the older that you get. So the availability for something to impact you as greatly as it did in your youth is greatly stunted, right? So I don't think it's necessarily, you're not trying to get into new music or anything. More is like just the way that our brains work. It's going to be hard for new music to hit you in a way that old stuff did. And that goes whether you're, you know, from our generation, previous generations, whatever generation. Just when you're at that age, you're actually finally basically an adult out of childhood experiencing the world. The music that accompanies that, I mean, what do they say? Again, they say nowadays it hits different, right?
So speaking of new music, I'd like to play a couple songs on this podcast, preferably newer artists here in Vegas that you work with. So if you could give a couple shout outs to some bands and some music that I think they should be listening to.
Shout out Pure Sport. Anyone who's any of my social medias right now, I'm on a huge Pure Sport kick. These dudes are cool as fuck. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of these things I'm about to criticize in like every band I'm in. But like, instead of just being another fucking band that goes up there and looks the same, they got a fucking look, an aesthetic, and a kind of they got this whole backstory where they're kind of like you know, their whole shtick is they're like this sports company. You know, like a sports corporation. Like, it's this undefined, like, Acme-esque sports corporation, right? And every one of the shows are meetings. So they just have this really cool look, but when they're up on stage, they're committed 100%, but not to the point where it's cheesy because their songs are really fucking good. They kind of remind me of, like, the Bronx meets garage rock,
right?
Kind of.
And they got that cool little gimmick thing.
Yeah, I do. And then they commit to it. They look good, and most importantly, they'll play good together. It's like you know, when you watch the Interrupters on stage, and you're just like, oh, these brothers are brothers, and they clearly just interact with that kind of you know, just confidence in each other's performance. They're the same way, and so good songs, good performance aspects. And then when it comes to actually playing the material, dude, they shred live. So, like, man, to me, it's the total package. So let's jump off Pure Sports for a second. And
right now, let's just play a Pure Sports song. Let's fucking do that right now.
Hey! I say, what would you want to? Hey! I say, do you want to? Hey! Fuck all the society! Hey! Somehow, all you want to do is say, take it all away! Take it all away! Hey! One time, you bump in the changes! Hey! Now say, keep it the same, man! Hey! Lie to the irony! Hey! Somehow, all you want to do is take it all away! Take it all away! You know, back in my day, we never did stuff like that. Kids and their cell phones, I just don't understand. Why would you ever want to do that to your body? Nobody wants to get out there and work. Take it all away. Take it all away.
Awesome, dude. Now, speaking of stage presence, were you about to jump on something else after Pure Sport there?
Oh, yeah. I thought we were... I just start listing stuff. My ADHD or ADD, I forget what it is at this point, gets the better of me, and you can't stop me. It's a runaway train.
It's all right. But speaking of stage presence, man, you definitely have a lot, man. That was the first time I saw you live. I was like, oh my God, this guy's a fucking machine. He's a monster. And I love that because I feel like a lot of people don't expect that from me too. And then all of a sudden I'm like channeling the spirit of rock and roll and I'm like all over the fucking place. But, you know, there's that's so important. Like I've mentioned this before on the show. Or like you could have a guitar player that can absolutely shred, or a drummer that's just fucking ridiculous. But like, there's something about, certain guys you just wouldn't want to see on a stage. Like in a studio, they could shred and do it in one take, but like they just lack a certain kind of personality.
Well, there's always that dichotomy of you can put on a good show. It's a sliding scale. It's not one or the other, but it's like putting on a good show or playing a good show, right?
Right.
And finding your niche in that. And so to me, if you take that three-dimensionally, you put on a good show and play a good show, well, you can also write parts that are more conducive to one or the other, right? So a lot of times if you're a shredder and you're going up and down and you're having to do some technical shredding, it's going to be really hard to run around the stage like Garth Brooks or some fucking wild man. I said Garth Brooks, who shout out Garth Brooks. That dude's a madman on stage.
They called him the first rock star of country.
He was trying to get signed as a rock star, and they're like, dude, there's no fucking way. You hear your voice, there's no way you're going to get signed for a Bruce Springsteen band. But I tell you what, we got this fucking producer. I forget the producer, but they put him in, I think it was George Strait's producer. I'm talking out of my ass right now. It's got to be bullshit. But they basically set him up with like whoever the hot producer was at the time, and that's where I'm much too young to feel this damn old.
Yeah.
And that's a great song too, man. We did a cover of that like punk rock, and it's
oh, that's awesome,
yeah,
dude.
like,
Something my dad used to say, man, you might get a kick out of this. And he's like a rock and roll junkie, man, and like nothing but rock and roll for this guy, right?
right.
This is what he used to say to me. He goes, Anthony, he goes, country musicians are nothing but rock stars that didn't make it. They just gave them a hat and some boots.
Pretty much. I don't think a lot of guys, unless you were one of those outlaw guys, was like who wants to go out there and be the country guy like in the 80s? You want to go out there and be the rock guy and do whatever the 80s rock stars did, allegedly. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I'd go country.
I would too, but that comes with, like, let's be honest, that comes with being older white people. I had a...
Does it?
Yeah,
Darius
I had an
Rucker
older statesman.
Isn't white.
No, okay. I'm not saying it's an exclusively white thing to like country music. What I'm saying,
slowing things down and going a little storytelling.
It's kind of like white folk music, right?
Yeah.
But and again, this isn't racially motivated. This is more like when I was younger. One of my there was this punk gang back in the day, SP out here from the east side, and they were like a punk gang. They were for real, just like to get in fights and wreck parties, and they were crazy as fuck. They were the most wild kids out here. And then my buddy Eric, shout out Eric McCollum, he was like, he told me, because he's a little bit older than me, he's like, you watch, you're going to hit your 30s, and all of a sudden country music's going to hit your ears differently, right? It's just part of what we're going, and I was like, fuck no, never. And goddamn, it's the 30s hit, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, all this stuff's pretty good, actually. I kind of like all this old, like the real stuff. I'm not really into that. There's nothing against the genre, but I'm not really into the current state of country.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are, so that's cool for them. And I'm not mad at them if it gets them going. Hell yeah, dude.
For me, dude, I'll be honest with you. I love the music. It's not relating to it that takes me out of country,
right,
for the most part, right? Like, I was drawn to punk rock and alternative music because these motherfuckers were preaching things that I knew about, that I felt too. So I felt part of that community. When someone gets on the microphone, he might have the coolest voice in the world and have the coolest guitar setup and all this stuff, but he starts talking about, having his big ass truck and a boat and all this stuff that I don't have, or going to, Chattahoochee with my friends. It's like,
that's a great song. Shout out Alan Jackson.
Bro, that is an amazing song. Amazing song. I actually covered it. I have a cover video of me doing that fucking lick. Took me like an entire day of practice just to get that.
Yeah, that's a great, dude. That's a tasty lick, dude.
Oh,
that's a steel guitar lick. That's why you're gonna have a hard time doing that, because it's literally going bow. Side story to what you're just saying. My girl spent a lot of time in Atlanta for a couple years and can confirm that all that shit goes down on the Chattahoochee River.
Yes. Yeah, I did a meme once. It was way down yonder in a Chattahoochee. Or Chihulu. and then it was just like the monster in the background and then Alan Jackson on the fucking tube.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen you post that. You're really good at memes. Your meme game is super on point. Like, you could be a meme lord if you spend as much time on that as you do your music.
I know. That's the thing, man, is like I actually I've grown to hate a lot of social media. And I'm aware that I need it to push things artistically.
Necessary evil.
But there are like certain poisonous aspects to it that actually, I feel, affect my life in a negative way.
That's the evil.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I keep the Facebook, but what I do is I strictly stay on Instagram and then just post on the Instagram. Over. Yeah. And like that's it, because I feel like Facebook, no offense to anyone, gives too much of a voice, and this is including me, to like want to talk on things and speak on things that are like you might later regret saying, or you might take offensively that someone else posts, or and then you start kind of comparing your life to other people's, and of course everyone's posting the best.
We know
stuff.
for a fact now that Facebook is like specifically set up to put things in front of you that are going to make you feel jealous and angry. Like, they're going to do that. If you're in an industry, it's going to say, look, this person who's also in a similar industry that you're friends with is doing good. We're going to show you that post. And they know that if you see enough people doing good around you, it's the same thing with like why there's a high suicide rate with younger women in this generation because of this sort of phenomenon. It makes you feel bad about yourself, whether you love your friends or not. If you're constantly seeing people do good and you're like the rest of us, even those people, you're struggling every day to try and do stuff. And that one moment of like the joy and triumph that got showcased isn't the rest of their lives. Facebook makes it seem like it is, right?
Yeah.
So that makes you feel like a fucking loser. And it's set up this way, and it's set up for engagement. And then when you're in those mind states, it knows you're more likely to argue and feel in your emotions. And so, like, I agree. I think Facebook's toxic as fuck. However, it's still got the largest reach out of any fucking platform. And everyone can say Facebook's dead, but there's still more users on Facebook than anything.
Yeah. And
Necessary evil.
I'm like proud that people like accomplish their dreams and stuff. Like, I love that, but there's such a difference for some reason of like going to a show and like supporting somebody and then just like seeing them speak about the show online. I don't know. It's just it's different, man. And like I've grown to find myself like getting angry throughout the day, and like you wonder like, oh, how did this person like mean to direct that, and blah 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 blah. So I've been like staying off. Like I have the profile up, but like I don't even interact.
Yeah, that's
and I used to be overactive too.
Can I say something
Yeah,
though? It's like
yeah.
probably one of the biggest reasons I'm sitting here is because when I first became aware of you, you were the most positive thing on my Facebook feed, consistently boosting other artists, boosting other people,
Yeah.
and I immediately was like, dude, in a whole sea of bullshit, like, this AJ guy's cool as fuck, man. This is the guy I want to hang out with. Like, he's actually like taking the time to care, to go to shows, and even like you're out to homie shows this week. You're like, you really do what you're talking about. So it is kind of sad to hear that you're not going to do that, but I also like respect the fact that like, like I said, there's a huge evil pack, and like if you can do the Instagram, you kind of cut the evil out. You're just like, I posted my necessaries on Facebook, but there's no evil of me having to like engage and see what other people are doing.
Yeah, I'm still gonna push everybody else and still go to shows and support, man, because you know what?
That's who you are.
And I love to be entertained. I love to entertain, but I love to be entertained. For me, the magic of music has never left.
Right.
And I'm so glad that I still get excited about other bands.
As he says this, folks, there's still a sparkle in his eyes right now. Like an anime where they see something, they're either really mad or really happy, and they kind of get that glint. Yeah. It's happening right now in AJ's eyes. I talked about it and it went away, but at that moment.
But yeah, like I love music. I love, the magic of being entertained has not gone away, and that's the thing that made me want to do what I do, is because I want to give other people that excitement,
right.
But anyways,
he's here to excite you folks.
And then on a not so exciting level though, locally, we won't mention any names, but wasn't there a story that I told?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's I guess the way to segue into this is like, and we could probably get into small scene stories where it's
right.
It's a real small world, big world.
It is a small world, yeah.
So, I believe this is your story to tell, but I think like let's see, I'm trying to think of the delicate way, because like any of the 10 or 7 listeners who are listening will probably know all the people involved.
So, okay, I'll just start and I won't mention any names. Yeah. I was recently working a event at Red Rock, and I met another fellow musician, which seems to like happen, right? You can always call out someone like, you got bass fingers.
Like magnets, right?
You got bass fingers, So I met this dude at the end of our shift. He's like, hey, man, you need to ride home, whatever. So, once again, without mentioning any names, this guy ends up kind of being kind of weird. And
as temporary convention workers tend to be from time to time.
So he's like, yeah, let me give you a ride, So first of all, we go out to the parking lot. He can't find his fucking car, so we spend like 45 minutes, not really, but
felt like it.
It felt like 45 minutes looking for his fucking car, and the wind's blowing, it's cold or whatever. So he finally finds his car, And he's kind of doing that macho thing where he wants to show you how fast his car can go. and he cranks his music like really uncomfortably loud.
Right.
You know? So like we're cruising.
His presence must be known and validated.
Yeah. And then he starts like getting really aggro with other drivers on the road. Like he's being the aggressive driver. And then
why aren't you doing 90 on a residential street, bro, you fucking bitch?
So he's fucking cruising down. And then he
Wait, hold on. Was he a member of the Raiders team? Because this sounds a lot like a member of the Raiders team, the way you're talking about his driving.
So then he turns to me, he goes, "Hey man, you got any blow?" You know.
So it was a Raider.
So we get to my apartment, you know, and he's like, "All right, man, you don't have any blow," but he's like, "You at least have a beer or something? Can I come in?" You know, I'm like, he like invites himself in. I'm like, "Yeah, all right, man."
You got anything? My life sucks so bad. I can't be sober, bro. Like, let's just be real right now. I need something, dude. You see what's going on. My life's horrible. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's the subtext to that question. You know what I mean?
So, you know, he comes in, man. I pour him a shot, whatever. We get to talking. He plays me a little bit of his music or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, play some of your music," you know. So I play my music. He goes, "What's your band's name?" You know. I go, "Yeah, Wyatt and the Ashes." And he goes, "What? Wait a minute, Wyatt and the Ashes?" And I go, "Yeah, you've heard of it?" He's like, "Oh, dude, this girl I fuck, this girl I'm friends with benefits with, she actually gave me one of your T-shirts, and really comfy shirt, bro." He says, really comfy shirt.
And at this point, you're probably thinking like, "Oh wow, like they were checking out my music," and she's like, "I actually got this shirt that doesn't fit me. Here, you can have it. You like his band, right?" That's kind of where you hope the story's going to go.
So he goes, "Yeah, man. And by the way, at this point, I know the person. I'm not going to mention her name, but I know the person that he's referring to pretty well.
It doesn't have to be her."
So, he goes,
allegedly her.
He goes, I was fucking her, and I used my own T-shirt to come on."
See, that's pretty chivalrous, though. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. It could have been anything else, right?
Right. He could have nutted on her couch.
Right.
Allegedly her.
So in return, so she gives him my extra large size T-shirt in replacement of his now came on shirt that he came with.
Right. So in replacement of the nut rag, she gave this shirt. Now, my question is, did this allegedly she... Do you remember selling a shirt to this allegedly she?
Here's the thing. This allegedly she was very close to the merch table but never bought a T-shirt.
So let's give allegedly she the benefit of doubt and say it accidentally fell into their alleged bag of alleged belongings.
Yeah, well...
Because that's all you can really do,
I
right?
wish she allegedly chose the right size for her.
That's the question is, do you think that the...
just the one on top,
like,
baby.
is that she... Okay, so because I'm at a conundrum with breaking this down. She really likes your band enough to steal a shirt, right? But then she gave away the allegedly. But then we for sure know, gave away that shirt.
Right.
Now, the question is, did she give it away because it didn't fit as good as she liked? And she's like, fuck, I'm not going to wear this. It's not fitting. I can't really wear it around because, you know, of the situation of how I got it. So this is probably best to just give to him. If it would have been like a fitting shirt, do you think he would have gotten another shirt? And that's my question.
Okay. I'm going to go the positive route.
Right.
And here's why.
Okay. Tell me
because
why.
the band shirt does not have the band name on it.
Yes.
Which means at some point,
it's the Earn logo shirt?
She had to then explain to him on her own will what the shirt meant.
So that sides for like she likes the band because she's like, oh, I'm going to give you this cool thing.
This Wyatt and the Ashes shirt that, you know, she could have been like, oh, here, take this. So, I mean, I'm going to choose, even though it was definitely stolen, I'm still going to choose the high road here.
Well, he high-roaded her first by nutting on his own shirt, right? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, isn't this just a case of one good turn deserves another?
On that note, we're going to take a little break and come right back. This is the Haunted Saloon.
Whoa there, cowboy. Is your love life drier than a June sagebrush poking pricklies on a desert cattle's bunghole? Well, look no further, fella. The cavalry has arrived. Spunk Lube. That's right, Spunk Lube. This ain't your average romance jelly jam. Whether you're sharing a 10-up and broke back or flying solo, Tonto, Spunk Lube will have you slinging your Cyclops and whistling out your Dixie. For group parties playing cowboys and Indians or just a quick one around in the chamber, Spunk Lube gets you hydrated for those long rides of bumping uglies into the sunset. Don't put a bounty on your head. Drizzle Spunk Lube instead. That's Spunk Lube, partner.
And we're back to the Haunted Saloon. So we're talking about the local scene. Pros and cons?
Pros and cons, some of the high points, some of the things I think we can all work on to make it a better scene.
Yeah.
Let's start with some pros here. Shout out all the different from Black Sheep, Baka, Hell House, Pulsar, Nevermore. I think there's never been more promoters in our local scene pushing harder for like more genres. And I think what's really good right now is that we've got a lot of really good multi-genre shows that are going on and kind of popping off, and so that's really cool, man. So some of the good I'm seeing is that we have like a lot more venues, and that we have a lot of promoters who are really seeming to kind of like inhabit the same space, which kind of makes it feel like a scene when everyone's kind of pushing the same narrative.
Yeah.
So, you know, in space as well is a great spot. Red Dwarf, we just got all these amazing spots. Berlin Bar, Foundation Room now is doing shows. Like everyone's like kind of chipping in, so it feels really cool. So that's a high point.
It's a really fun time to be where we're at in Vegas right now. Like, it feels really fun. I never thought that after like 20 years of doing this stuff that I'd find like a really comfortable little corner of the world that's like so fun, and like all these new bands are coming out, and just the energy's really high. And I think we're all, maybe COVID had something to do with it, where like we went through this time of like nothing going on and, you know, not being able to do this, to all of a sudden we have this playground of being able to do this.
I 100% agree with that, and I think like especially like in Vegas, a lot of the new bands we're seeing are kids who are just turning 21, 22, and 23. So these are all people who through like 18, 19, and 20 were stuck during COVID, right? So those are like the years where you traditionally have to get out and go to college or work your hardest, and now these kids like at the beginning of their adulthood got to be like super creative and sit at home with their boys and their girls and, you know, and they got to like figure it all out. And so now we're seeing this proliferation of bands because they want to do it.
Dude, that's so cool. I never like really thought about it that way, but I think you fucking just hit that nail on the head, man. Like, that makes so much sense. You know, I love the dudes in Algorithm.
Yeah, I love Algorithm. Shout out Algorithm.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Really cool dudes. I've been trying to get them on the podcast.
I'm going to get them right now. Future Cody is going to do this. Past Cody right now. Check it out. Check how accurate these words are. By the time that you see this podcast, Algorithm will have already recorded one. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. So there's just so many cool acts, man, and like I'm just really happy. I'm happy that I'm friends with you. I'm happy to be
friends with you too, buddy.
I'm happy to be writing and recording and doing all these things, and now the podcast. It's just so much fun, man.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning cons of
Do you have any cons? Put you on the hot seat, boy.
Not really. I just think
there's no cons. All right, you guys heard it first. AJ thinks the scene's perfect and there's no cons in it.
I mean, you know, you could slide.
He doesn't want to be sloppy on here.
You could slide me as like a co-headliner once or twice. You know, I've been doing a lot of opening. I got material, but in my defense, I am looking for a band.
Yeah.
I think
we're actively working on that.
I actually love playing acoustically as an opener. I'm fine with that, but like I'm ready. Like all my songs are recorded to be full band songs, so I'm looking for those guys. So if you're listening, all 5 of you, once again, let's jam.
Desperately seeking drummers. So all right, I guess. Oh fuck! If you don't want to get on the hot seat, I'll get on the hot seat. I'll be a little salacious.
Get on the fucking hot seat. Get on there.
A little controversial. I think, okay, so the high point was, like I said, we have all these really mixed genre shows and people pushing the narrative. Mm-hmm. I think the low point right now is because there's so many mixed genre shows that, and, you know, I'm not mentioning any names because I think everyone's pushing really hard, but I think let's try and give them the benefit of the doubt and say some of these promoters are so busy with so many shows that they're not necessarily having the time and go to do the research to be like, you know, like you can do mixed genre shows, but like when I do mixed genre shows, like I tend to think about like, who are the bands? Who are those bands' crowds? And how are those crowds going to interact with each other if I book different bands on the same bill? And just because they're different genres and people like different genres nowadays It doesn't mean that every band's crowds are going to go together. So like to kind of like book successfully out here, I think you really got to have to understand like who each band that you're booking is and who their crowd is. Because like you can put together two different crowds that don't know each other that would be complementary to a really good night. So part of being a promoter to me is promoting a really fun time. And that aspect is like not just like being like, hey bands, I got a opening on July 16th at fucking wherever, get at me. Like, that's kind of lazy. You know what I mean? Are you really thinking, are you just like filling up slots? Or are you thinking about curating a fun time? So I think a low point for me would be that I think as good as the promoters are doing, they could also step it up a little bit in regards to the synergy of shows. We just, recently there was I commented on this on Facebook, we had and nothing against Pulsar. Pulsar is probably the most OG promoter in the scene. He's done more work for our scene than fucking probably anybody. Him and his mom Helen are absolute saints of the scene. At just this one show I'm talking about, you've got a couple you got Pure Sport and Hunter's Briefcase, and don't get me wrong, those honestly are two of the bands I'm most excited for that I think best represent Las Vegas and Las Vegas music right now.
I just saw Hunter's Briefcase the other night.
Dude, everyone's been seeing them and everyone's been telling me the same thing. Like I saw them at Double Down and I was like, dude, this is fucking great. These guys are solid.
It was like if Incubus was on Drive-Thru Records.
Right.
It has like this like local pop punk feel, but it also has like some intricate
It's like
beauty.
hippie punk.
There you go.
Is how kind of I got from it. It's like these are like hippies with punk aesthetic.
And dude, the drummer, hold on, sorry, real
go
quick,
ahead.
because you touched on it. The fucking drummer knows how to dance. This motherfucker is like drawing on the cymbals with like a fucking drumstick, fucking doing the whole, ambient thing. I mean, they were fucking rad, but anyway,
They're on acid. Heads. I don't think that you're acid heads. I was just joking. But back to it, like nothing against the boy, but like on that show, there's a really big surf punk band coming out here, and we happen to be in a town fucking chock full of surf punk bands, right?
Yeah.
So at least put one of them on the show. You know what I mean? Think about the synergy of stuff. And like, dude, my boy's busy and he books more than anybody. So I totally understand again that especially in Pulsar's case, he doesn't have the time to like. He's got to fucking fill these seats and get these fucking, you know what I mean, get these shows locked. So I get it. It's not like someone like me where I'm like, oh, I can think about this one show for 4 months and curate the perfect. So I get that there has to be give and take in that.
Yeah.
But that's my one criticism that I think we could do better is really work on the synergy of our crowds.
So as you're talking, I do have a couple things to say, actually.
Got 'em going.
Stop putting 20 bands on a bill in a night between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock and expecting 10 bands to like
And that's a result of what we were just talking about,
exactly.
not having synergy. You're
Yeah.
like, each of these is good for 10 or 15, and I need 150, so I'll just book 9 bands. When you could have booked 3 that have like a cross draw.
Yeah, and like you just said, to touch on what you said, like stop throwing warm bodies on stage just to fill a fucking bill. Like, know the band.
Yeah.
Know the fucking band. Another thing that I'm really, really against and have a really fucking hard time with, and it's something in like doing this for 20 fucking years that I've experienced, especially in my younger days. Stop putting the band you have least faith in as a quote-unquote headliner, leading them to believe that they are the headliner of the show, and realistically putting them after the band that draws the biggest crowd to then just have them as like a filler at the end of the fucking night. Stop doing that. If you post a band who's like maybe premature or just like learning their ropes, put them as an opener early enough in the show. Stop doing bands dirty by saying that they're the headliner and then like putting them in a position where everybody has left to leave that band.
And that's very true. I have like people I'm recording right now that like have been like subject to this practice where they're like, you know, nowhere near headlining status, and because they're very, you know, ardent about their booking, that they're getting booked headlining slots, and people like, and I feel like the promoters that are saying okay to this are just like, oh, you guys want to take this? You guys want to take that responsibility? Okay, cool. I'll let you do that.
Right, okay.
You know, without actually like. Where I know at Vegas, like the headlining slot's always going to be in the middle of the set, but you book it like that. Like if I say I book an out of town band, I'm going to put you in the middle of good bands. I'm going to put you in the middle of a band that draws and a band that draws, sandwich in between, so that people have to stay for your set, right? Yeah. But I'm not going to advertise it as the last band as the headliner, and I think that's what we're talking about. Yeah. A lot of times, the last band is getting advertised as headliners, and there's better draws in the night.
Right.
But that's what I'm talking about, synergy. Like there's every system has a synergy, and the more synergistic, you know, copacetic your parts work together, the better it's going to be. And I think booking's one of those very nuanced things that maybe people don't pay attention enough to the nuances of.
And another thing too is, you know, I don't do what I do for money. I've never once been invited to a show and been really expected to be paid. You know, it's I'm grateful to get the free beer or whatever, but like, I've been put in the position where I'm being advertised as the opener.
Yeah.
And then I get to the show, and then they go, "Oh, you're headlining." So now my ass is there at 7 o'clock for sound check, and I don't go on to 11 o'clock.
Right.
Bring the biggest crowd. They make a shit ton off the bar, and then whatever the bar fucking promised them to put on the show, and they don't give anybody fucking anything. Or even like room to sell their fucking merch. Like that pisses me off. Like
there's multiple venues that do that out here too.
I get that there's not money to be made most of the time, and I'm grateful just to be playing. So,
there is.
To make that clear.
There is money to be made. If the promoters do their job correctly and there's asses in seats, there is fucking money to be made. The only issue with you ever being stiffed is like someone booking a room that's too big, not filling it up enough, and having a high overhead cost. That's the only situation where you shouldn't be paid. And correct me if I'm wrong. Are these situations in a room that's too big for the crowd, and then the promoter doesn't have money to pay you?
Well, I've
or is this happening in smaller venues?
Smaller venues, and I've been promoted by this individual several fucking times, and he accidentally in a text conversation told me how much money he makes off his event. And I know for a fact doesn't pay a band a single penny, which I don't care about the money. Here's where I care.
That's suspect, though.
But see, I care when I'm promised something and then it's not delivered.
True. Like if someone doesn't say some shit and they just ask you to be on the show and it's not discussed,
cool.
Like you can't go barking up the tree about money.
Right. I only get upset when it's like, oh, I'm going to give you this or X of this, and then that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Then it pisses me off, you know. But if
it happens a lot, dude. Like we don't got to name nobody, but like there's bigger names out here that you wouldn't expect operate like that. Actually, operate like that.
And, you know, like, it's fine. I get everyone needs to make money, but stop using acts that draw a crowd and not, like, treating them with respect.
Or lying about that you're going to give them money.
Yeah, man.
But I also, like, I want to take this moment, shout out Dive Bar, shout out fucking Red Dwarf, shout out fucking Sand Dollar Downtown, there's Double Down. There's a lot of places that always pay their fucking artists, right? And always have money for their shows.
Hello.
My dad's calling me. So there's a lot of places in town that, you know, actually like all those places I named will give me budgets, and I'll be able to be like, hey, local show tonight. You know how we brought like 30 or 40 drinkers? Cool. Everyone's gonna get a little bit of money now.
Right, and that's cool. But yeah, and I know I brought it up, but I'm being real when I say this. I really don't care about that, but it's just like it does suck when someone who claims to be your friend is like pocketing hundreds of dollars, and you brought like 100 people. You know, like
right.
But that's my only gripes. We can go back to pros if you want, but
yeah, no, we got some cons out there. Let's go to pros. Pros is the level of bands in Las Vegas right now is, in my opinion, the best in the country. Nothing against anyone else's scene, but like all your scenes come here, and when your bands come out here and they play our shows, they're like, the fuck's going on out here? This is like great. All the bands are great. We're used to playing with maybe one good band per set, but all the bands on these sets were great. I feel like the level of musicianship, songwriting, performance in our Las Vegas Valley is like unrivaled in the country. If there's a scene Olympics, like let's fucking go, dude. We got this. So I think our scene's amazing. I'm very biased in this opinion. I will admit that. But God damn it, that's my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not even my job. That's who I am, man. This is our shit, dude. I'll put 10 toes down for this fucking scene.
Absolutely.
So I think we have great, amazing scene. That'd be a positive.
Yeah, I'm really proud to be here. I'm really proud to be part of it. And, you know, you're right. And, like, you've also mentioned in the past, like, this is one of the hardest scenes to break into. So the fact, I mean, like, in being the entertainment capital of the world, like, it's hard. And there's so many
like
shows.
LA or New York or something like that.
And the only reason why I'm saying this is because you go to any other city, and what tends to happen, and you'll see in Chicago and New York, right? It's a lot of bands that have original music. It's you don't have a million events going on the same night, so it's very easy that the best bands get together on a certain night, and everybody goes to that one show because there's nothing else to compete with. You come to Vegas. This band's playing this show on Friday night, along with 20 other bands that are playing across the city. Like
our show tonight, there's literally 5 other punk shows going on tonight.
So this is where I think promoting needs to be a bigger part of it.
And synergy.
I think the best bands need to come together, fucking play the best shows. It's hard when you have a great headliner.
Well, here's my argument
doing 100
that.
things across the city.
There's like enough great, like I'm going to keep hammering on this word synergy because it's fucking true when it comes to these bookings. Like, we're going up against 5 shows tonight, right? I have no doubt that we're going to have a fun show tonight because we got a cross-section of 3 different bands who's going to be good for like probably 40 to 80 people in a small bar, right? There's thousands of people out here. There's no reason everyone doesn't have that many people at their shows. There is a reason, and that reason is actually like taking booking as an art form seriously. Like taking you're entertaining people. We're all on this planet for a short time, and we kind of minimalize this art of promoting. But what we're really saying is like the world's shit, and we're gonna try and create a fucking escape from that shit for a couple hours. I'm gonna give you a fun night out. You're gonna take a break from work, and you take a break from all the bullshit, and you get to come to my show and have a good time. To me, that's a serious fucking task that's been levied upon me. I want people to have a blast. I want people to throw aside the fucking bullshit that happened today at work. I want people to be able to be like, man, all these bands are great and all the people here are great and these drinks are great. This was a great fucking time. I want people driving home safely, of course, or catching their Ubers home. But on the way home, I want people being like, damn, man, that night was great. That's important to me because it's not, but again, it's not my job. It's not numbers to me. If I make money on shows, it goes straight to my bands. Like a lot of these other promoters, this is their living, is to make a living off this. So like at the end of the day, numbers are what's important to them. And as much as you care about it, if you're slave to the numbers, you're going to have to like compromise at a certain point. So you know what I mean? So I get where people are coming from, and you can't just be altruistic all the time, but that doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? Like we can't do it better.
Right. You know, and like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like another problem is too, the age range that are going to shows in Vegas are also working the industry in Vegas. So Friday, Saturday nights, you know, you've got a lot of college age people like let's face it, like people who are buying records, the majority of them, not everybody, but the majority of people buying records and buying merch are late high school to college age individuals.
Okay,
Am I wrong?
No, you're a little bit wrong about the merch thing. Just from not my market research, but a lot of market research has shown that our generation, the millennials, are still like we're actually one of the biggest merch buying generations. We're the ones who were kind of trained to still want vinyl, still need shirts with the like. We do that the most. The younger generation kind of likes fashion and styles, and they don't really get it so much from their musical artists. Like you don't see people wearing Drake shirts, right? We get art, so like. But the cool thing about that is the biggest people actually buying merch are the people with money, people who have jobs.
Okay,
and so
correct.
One hand washes the other in that respect.
I'll hand it to you in that one. But like back to what you said during the beginning of this episode when we talked about the pivotal time where you're finding new bands, right?
Fair enough.
So high school to college age is a very magical time for discovering new bands. So what I mean by that is if you go out in Vegas at any given night, like you realize a lot of the young people are working the bars and the venues.
Yes.
So like that's why Vegas is another. I'm not saying like we don't have a magical scene or that it's not going really well. I'm saying why Vegas might be harder to break into, whereas you go to Chicago, right? For example, all the bars close at 2 a.m.
Right.
So everyone wants to get off work at 8 because everyone's working like the 9 to 5s, right? So everyone's going to be at the show at 8 o'clock. It closes at 2. We're all going to come together and do this thing. Like Vegas is so open and is so 24 hours and is so, complex and diverse when it comes to so many bars and so many venues and so many things and entertainment on the Strip, entertainment on Fremont, all these different things going on at once. It is harder for us. So the fact that we have accomplished and you have accomplished what you have in a scene like this where it's so complex, that speaks volumes and why we are on fire as a scene, I think, in a good way.
I agree with that 100%. Whereas, like, these things aren't mutually exclusive. They're actually part of the same thing. Is the reason our scene's so good is because there's such a high watermark to break in. If you want to go out and entertain people out here, they're fucking bored before you step foot on stage. You got to win them over.
Yeah.
If you're going to be good and you're going to be viable in our scene, you're going to go out and not get booed off stage. Same with like a fucking LA scene or like I imagine Boston or New York, places where there's a lot of fucking music going on. If you want to get out there and entertain folks, you got a fucking high watermark to step up to. You can't just go out there and have some fucking covers. And if you do, you better be someone like fucking Franks and Deans who got the whole goddamn package. And like, don't get me wrong, Haas and them know that I'm not the biggest fan of like the music that they cover, but I'll be the first to admit they're one of the most entertaining goddamn bands you'll ever see. They put hard work into fucking harmonies and killing it. So even if you are a cover band out here, our cover bands will fucking eat your cover bands a goddamn live for breakfast. Shit them out, eat it. You know what I mean? So the level to break it into is what makes it a good scene, right? And I love that aspect about it. It's kind of like, you got to work for it. Everyone who's here in the scene, if you're in the scene, you work to get here.
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but real quick, because you mentioned Franks and Deans, I actually auditioned to be their drummer after and I had to I had to decline because I suck.
Yeah. They were like, sorry, AJ, we said professional drummers.
No, they actually were the ones who called me first, and they seen a couple of video clips, But me not having a full kit and not being up on my chops, it was like,
or being able to tour exclusively on Franks and Dean's money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, not against them. Like they can do that because all those dudes hustle their asses off and have good ass jobs at home. And
I have a lot of shit going on too with my stuff,
dude. It's hard to tour in your 30s.
But I'm honored that they were like, they even fucking was like, yeah, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
So
now there's a boy. Shout out Frank Steens.
So anything else you want to touch on as far as
you and your sexy beard?
You got a sexy beard too, though.
Thank you.
Any projects that you're currently working on that you want to shout out about, or any other bands that
yes,
you want to shout out about?
Yes, I would like to give a huge shout out to Kate and Split Personality Records. Kate 78's been out here for goddamn years. I'm not going to date my girl, but let's just say she's 21 and a little bit over. But Kate's been doing a lot of work out here for fucking ever. And she just started a split-only compilation label. The first one series coming out, it's Boulevard Bullies and Muertos Heist. And then we have our boys, Desert Island Boys, and her band, Negative Nancy. So that's the first round. We should be getting those in any day now. And she's putting mad ass and mad cash into putting out vinyl from Las Vegas. Our next round, we have my band, Not For Sale, and the Line Cutters from Arizona. Great fucking band. Just broke up right when we did the record, but cut the record for us. So we kind of got their swan song. We're doing that. And then we have TV Tragedy from Arizona and Discount Vodka from Colorado. So Kate out here has started up what's going to be like one of the like next new gen like 7-inch distro labels. And I'm going to be helping her work and record bands and do that. So I want to give a huge shout out to Kate. Everyone go, if you're listening, all 10 of you, go fucking follow Split Personality Records. Look them up on Instagram and shout out to them. Let's see, what else? Who else is doing just amazing things out here right now? Just the whole East Side scene. Christian over at Las Palmas from Los Empties. He does a lot of shit, though. Shows at his house. He also does recording. Not So Secret shows. They moved out here from another spot. They do some. I can't be the only person capturing stuff out here. So there's just a lot of really good other media outlets out here that are killing it. So Not So Secret shows. Neck Promotions. Neck's out here working for the scene, putting on good. I forgot to shout him out earlier. Putting on good promotional shows. So Neck Promotions, y'all should be following. Yeah, man, just the Las Vegas scene in general, man. Everyone out here is working really hard. There's too many people for me to list, but like I love all you guys, man. Everyone from God Patrol to the top. Everyone's the best. Oh,
dude. So we're definitely gonna have to do a part 2. We obviously could go on, I think, for hours. And we'll talk more. I think like the construction of the art and like the art form of a song and putting those magic elements together. I think next time we'll definitely touch on that and kind of like
a more focused discussion.
Yeah, the art form. But I want to thank you, Cody, for being here today,
dude.
You. You're an awesome friend of mine. So glad to be involved with you artistically and to be your friend. So definitely think that's awesome. So you guys heard it. I'm here with Cody. This has been Haunted Saloon. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.